there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and today is day 2 of official Shadows Over Innistrad spoilers, and we got 9 brand new cards to take a look at, including, as you can see on your screen here, Arlinn Kord, another brand new Planeswalker that looks like she's going to be amazing. So more on that in just a few moments. As you know, over the course of at least the weekdays, this week and next week, we'll have more spoilers every day. So every day that spoilers are released, we'll be back with a video and try to compile them all for you, give you a little bit of quick analysis. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, definitely a good time to do so. And then a week from Friday, we'll begin our full set review once the set is revealed. So having said that, let's jump into the information for today. First, we're going to look at a series of cards that we actually already talked about in previous videos, but these are cards that previously we've seen them in either their promo version or their intro deck version, but now for the first time they're being revealed in their actual Shadows Over Innistrad version with their Shadows art. So we'll take a quick look at these. If you're interested in my thoughts on them, definitely check out the playlist for those videos. But for right now, we're just going to look at the art on these cards. And basically we have Angel of Deliverance. We saw this as a promo yesterday. Jacques called Cavalry, which we saw as an intro deck card. Nephalia Moondrakes, another card we've seen in the past as an intro deck. Markov Dread Knight, yet another intro deck card. I really like the art on that one though. And Flame Blade Angel, another card from the intro decks. So those are just the updated art for you. Now let's jump into the new stuff. First we have Aurdric Lunarch Marshal. It costs 1 white, 3 generic, 3/3 legendary human soldier. At the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn if a creature you control has first strike. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. Wow, that was a mouthful there. So let's talk about this card. First off, in limited, this is a fine card. It costs 4 for a 3/3, so that will be just fine in limited. Wouldn't always make your cut, but the ability here is pretty decent as long as you have at least a few creatures with some of these keywords. And this shouldn't be too hard to find considering almost all the keywords from creatures are on here. I mean, one that I notice is missing is Prowess, and that's probably just because if you had some instants in your hand, that might actually become too good. You would be able to not only perhaps use some combat tricks to grow your cards, but then give them all Prowess at the same time. That might get a little crazy. Probably also with Crash Magic Online, which is another reason it might not be on there. Who knows? But look at the list of things that are on there. I mean, flying, first strike, menace, trample. These are all things that are pretty easy to come across in a game unlimited. So this card is going to do a whole lot of work. As long as you have even a few of those keywords on some of your creatures, it's going to just be worth playing, I think. As far as constructed goes, I think it's a little too inconsistent and situational for, say, standard or something like that, especially for a 4-drop. But this is going to be amazing in Commander. Can you imagine building a Commander deck with a lot of creatures with all these keywords and just being able to kind of throw this down as maybe your Commander even, and have all your creatures, at least on their combat phase, be able to attack in with all of these effects? That would be crazy. So another really strong Commander card and pretty good limited card. Next card was spoiled from a French language spoiler. Loosely translated, we think it's Tainted Chains. Costs a blue and a generic. It's a 2/1 creature spirit with flash and flying. And when Tainted Chains enters the battlefield, target spirit gains hexproof until end of turn. You can cast spirit spells as though they had flash. So let's talk about limited first. So 2/1 flyer for 2, and it can be flashed into play. This is very economical. It has evasion. Even though it's a small creature, this could very well make your cut just based on that alone in limited. But on top of that, if you're running a few other spirits, this is even better. Just the fact that you can flash this in and maybe protect one of your spirits from a destroy spell or direct damage spell, it's actually pretty awesome. So this is very limited playable and can be very good. And it gets better, obviously, if you have a few spirits. And then the fact that you can go ahead and flash spirits in is also very good and very important in a limited game. Now, having said that, what about constructed? I don't know if there's going to be a spirit tribal deck. Now, granted, we haven't seen a lot of this set yet, and there may be some incredible spirit cards that are still coming out. But at this point, it's a spirit lord, basically, and unless you have a lot of spirits to kind of back this thing up, I don't really know if it's going to be in a standard deck, at least not anything that I can kind of conceive at this point. But this is a good commander card. If you're looking to do a spirit commander tribal type thing, this would be a good support card to throw in that deck. Next we have Macabre Waltz, and this is actually a reprint. It was originally printed in Dissension and then again in Magic Origins. So this is its newest printing, and it's got some new art, and I'll tell you that art actually looks pretty amazing, and the quote is pretty amazing too. So it's funny because this was Gathering Magic's preview card, and if you look at their article on this card, a lot of it revolved around art, and in particular this piece of art, because it is so amazing. Now the card itself is an okay limited card, and in the past it's been just fine. What's nice about this is it only costs 2. Sometimes you see this effect costing a little more, but it doesn't have the discard a card drawback. Now in this set, however, this card becomes a lot better, I think, because you have a lot of things that are tossing stuff in your graveyard, and you'll probably very easily have 2 creatures in your graveyard, at least with a lot of builds, and then you're able to basically draw those creatures and then discard a card, which is going to work very well with Madness. It's going to work very well with Delirium. So I like this a lot in this world, in this environment. I think it's going to be much better in Shadows Over Innistrad Limited than it was probably in Dissension or Magic Origins. Don't really know if I see it in Standard. However, don't count it out completely, just because I do think there's going to be maybe a green-black Madness / Delirium thing in Standard, and this could be a support card in there, so keep an eye on it, but definitely a very good limited card in this world. Next we have To the Slaughter, 1 black, 2 generic. It's an instant. Target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, and Delirium, instead that player sacrifices a creature and a planeswalker. So a couple things here. On the positive side, it's an instant. So I like edict effects usually to cost like 2, but I'm okay if this is going to cost 3 but be an instant. I'm fine with that. As far as the wording goes, though, pay close attention. Target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. So this isn't always going to be an answer for a planeswalker for you. Your opponent may have the choice to just go ahead and get rid of a creature instead. Now, the Delirium aspect of it, though, makes it much, much better. If you can get Delirium, now you can pretty much get rid of the planeswalker. Sometimes you go up against more than one planeswalker, but let's face it, 99% of the time, there's only one planeswalker on your opponent's battlefield at a time. Having said that, where do you see this card being played? As far as limited goes, it's fine. It's not going to be super exciting for you, just because most of the time you're not going to be up against the planeswalker, and it does give your opponent the ability to decide which creature to sacrifice. But removal is very, very important in limited, and if you don't have better removal, this is going to be just fine, and you're going to probably be rather happy with it, especially considering you can use it at instant speed. Now, if you're able to get Delirium and your opponent happens to have opened a planeswalker, then this thing, of course, is awesome. But there's a lot of kind of ifs and buts in there, so keep that in mind when you choose it for your limited build. Let's look at Constructed. I think it's a fine card in Constructed. It could definitely see some play, especially, again, if there are decks that are able to easily get Delirium. It's going to help keep certain planeswalkers in check, and I think we've already seen some good ones spoiled, and there's going to be a couple more coming. So, plus all the other planeswalkers that already exist, like, I don't know, Jace, for example. This is going to be a good card against those type of strategies. So I do see it getting some standard play, even if it's out of the sideboard. Modern, I can see this coming out of a modern sideboard. This is great against John. Could you imagine being able to get rid of like a Tarmogoyf and Liliana at the same time with a card like this? That would be kind of awesome. So I could see it maybe making its way there too. So this is a very versatile card. I think it's going to have a lot of implications. Next we have a card that was spoiled as a Japanese language card. It's Vampire Glutton, loosely translated. Now this is a 1 red 2/1 Vampire Warrior, and each vampire creature card you own that isn't on the battlefield has Madness. So this is interesting. Let's talk about this casting cost first. This is the first time we're seeing a 1-drop red creature that's a 2/1 without a drawback. We've seen things in the past like Jackal Pup and stuff like that, but this has no drawback. It's basically a Savannah Lion with upside. Now usually 2/1s for 1 usually are white cards like Savannah Lion and such, but I do think a 2/1 for 1 is actually better in red than it is in white, especially in recent history, because white hasn't really had like a strong like white weenie thing going on for a while now, where red and slash red black have actually been very aggressive recently. So I think if that trend continues, this is a card that could see some play in standard, just because there's a lot of red slash red black type aggressive decks that are running around out there. Now, as far as the extra ability goes, it's interesting, and here's where it kind of excels, I guess. If you're playing a lot of vampires and you're playing a lot of cards that are trying to use discard as a drawback, quote unquote, then this kind of lets you basically negate that drawback. And there's a lot of cards out there that do have you discard a card, especially in this new set. If this sees standard play, I think it's going to be more because of its stats than anything. As far as limited goes, this is okay in limited. 1-drop 2/1 isn't going to light the world on fire. It might be an include as long as you have space to include it in your playables and maybe get it some early damage across, but its ability probably isn't going to be super relevant. It may play a small role. If you happen to have a lot of vampires and some discard effects, then yeah, maybe it does something for you, but it's probably going to be a little inconsistent there. But yeah, watch for this one, perhaps some standard aggressive play. Next is Wolf of Devil's Breach, and this costs 2 red, 3 generic. This one's a mythic. It's 5/5 elemental wolf. When Wolf of Devil's Breach attacks, you may pay 1 in a generic and discard a card. If you do, Wolf of Devil's Branch deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to the discarded card's converted mana cost. There's a lot of text walls today, so this one is actually very good, I think. And you look at this and, okay, a 5/5 for 5, it doesn't have evasion, that's whatever. But when you look closer at it and you look at that ability, it's actually quite good. The fact that you can start pitching your cards and basically everything in your hand other than, well, maybe lands, for example, can do direct damage, that's actually kind of awesome and should hopefully clear the path for this 5/5 ground pounder to get by and get some damage in. Now, as far as limited goes, yeah, limited bomb. I mean, you'd probably be happy playing a 5/5 for 5 even without the ability in limited. That would be just fine in a lot of cases, but this ability is great. It'd be better if you could go to the face, right? But that probably would be too good in a lot of cases. As far as standard goes, I could see this perhaps getting some standard play. What I'm thinking is a Tarka Red style decks. Now, a Tarka Red's going to lose some pieces during the rotation, but I do feel like this could be the top end of an Atarka Red type deck, or maybe a new version of Atarka Red. So keep an eye on this. Red's been very good in recent history, and I don't think that will change. I think this is another card that's going to really complement what's already out there. Alright, we have a transform card. It's Sage of Ancient Lore, which transforms into Werewolf of Ancient Hunger. So this is a human shaman werewolf, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand. And when this enters the battlefield, draw a card. And then, of course, if at the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, it gets to transform. And it turns into a werewolf with vigilance and trample, and its power and toughness are equal to the total number of cards in all players' hands. And of course, if at any upkeep, the previous turn a player casts 2 or more spells, it transforms. Alright, so this one's interesting. First off, let me say, in limited, it's probably going to be just fine for you. You're going to go ahead and play this for 5. You'll be able to maybe hold on to some cards in your hand, maybe some extra lands in the mid to late game, and you'll have a decent sized creature on your hands. Then maybe it flips and it also has vigilance and trample. Yeah, it's going to be kind of tough to deal with in some cases. Your opponent may have to use a removal spell or double block to get rid of this. So it's going to give you some value. It'll be fine for you in limited. Nothing that's going to be super exciting, but it'll be good. As far as constructed goes, I think the variance is just a little too high for standard. You don't want to be trying to hold on to cards to make this creature relevant, and your opponent can probably easily dump cards if they need to. So I don't think this is going to do a whole lot for you there. Where this really shines for me is multiplayer and Commander in particular, where this is going to count up all the cards in all players' hands and give you power toughness based on that, and then you have a huge vigilance and trample werewolf. That's going to be awesome. So yeah, this feels like a Commander card for the most part for me, but definitely limited playable. Next we have Neglected Heirloom, which transforms into Ashmouth Blade. And this is cheap equipment. It costs 1 and 1 to equip, and it gives a creature +1/+1. But when the equipped creature transforms, you get to transform this into a equipment that costs 3 to equip, but gives +3/+3 and first strike. So, let me say this. This is very, very cheap. 1 to cast, 1 to equip. And there are some amazing flip cards out there. I'm thinking of cards like Heir of Vulcanwrath, Insidious Mist. This would be crazy on Insidious Mist. Your opponent really wouldn't be able to deal with it. So this will definitely see some play. Now let's talk about limited first. Obviously you need flip cards for this to be good. So if you have some flip cards, you have enough of them, then yeah, this is easily runnable and is going to be probably quite good for you. Standard, again, the cards that are the powerful flip cards have to be good enough. There's some really good ones out there. And keep an eye on Insidious Mist. Keep an eye on Heir, because those are the type of cards that if they do make it into standard, this could be a nice little support card that just pushes it over the top. I mean, look how powerful Delver strategies are. Delver's all about just getting a kind of mid-range size creature out faster. And this really takes any creature and buffs it when it transforms quite immensely with +3/+3 and first strike. So watch out for this. This could see some standard play. I'm even thinking about, could this show up in some Delver builds in like Modern? I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I don't know if that would make it or not, but it's just so cheap. That's what's really kind of caught my eye, is it's just so easy to cast. So this is going to be a good one, I think. Keep an eye on this card. Alright, our last card of the day is another Planeswalker, and this is Arlinn Kord that transforms into Arlinn Embraced by the Moon. So this is a 3 loyalty Planeswalker with +1 ability. Until end of turn, up to 1 target creature gets +2/+2 and gains Vigilance and Haste. 0 ability, put a 2/2 green wolf creature token on the battlefield and transform. And then on the other side, you have +1. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. -1, this will deal 3 damage to target creature or player and then transforms. And -6, you get an emblem with creatures you control have haste, and tap, this creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. So you got it there, a Planeswalker with 5 abilities, so it beats Jace, granted 3 on one side, 2 on the other, but still 5 ability Planeswalker. Pretty awesome. So I don't even know what to say about this card. This card is kind of amazing. It does everything. I mean, I was excited about Nahari that we looked at yesterday, but this is another Planeswalker that is just kind of flooring me right now. Whenever you have options, and you have, this card gives you plenty of options. Whenever you have options, the card is going to be powerful. And this thing having 5 abilities, even though granted 3 on one side, 2 on the other, it's still giving you just a ton of different things you can do. And you know, sometimes you just need it to protect itself. So yeah, it can make a 2/2, or it can lightning bolt a creature and destroy that flyer that was going to get it. Or you can be more aggressive and give all your creatures +1/+1 and trample to end of turn and just go in for, you know, a killing strike. Or you can just simply buff one creature with haste, and just the creature you're able to put out that turn can attack. And if you do get to ultimate this thing, its ultimate's quite good when you're playing a lot of creatures. Now, this card wants to play with a lot of creatures. It's better if you have a lot of creatures. We haven't seen a lot of the werewolves yet, so I'll be curious to see how this would interact with them. I feel like this will be a pretty huge support card for a strong werewolf deck. But regardless, it doesn't really seem to matter. I think if you have a lot of creatures, this becomes better. But even if you don't have a lot of creatures, this is still very good. So limited, yeah, of course it's a limited bomb. I don't think I have to tell you that. I think this will definitely see standard play. I have no doubt in my mind. I don't know what deck this fits in off the top of my head, but this could very well create its own deck. I think it's that good. And Modern? I think so. Again, I don't know off the top of my head where it fits in the world of Modern right now. Of course, that world will probably change a lot very soon, so it might be kind of hard to say. But I feel like, again, someone could brew around this. I think it's that good. So keep an eye on this one. We've seen 2 amazing Planeswalkers. They're definitely going to see play in multiple arenas. And I haven't even mentioned Commander or Cube, because again, this is going to be incredible in Commander, incredible in Cube as well. So this card is going to be huge, I think. And again, much like yesterday. I haven't checked the pre-release prices yet since this card was just revealed, but I have a feeling it's probably pretty high. So having said that, those are all the cards for today, and we will be back tomorrow with some more spoilers, and again, we'll compile everything that we find out there and bring them to you. So until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a good day.